This is a mining town in McDowell County, West Virginia, photographed by a government photographer in September of 1938. There is nobody in it. Her caption says the town was once very nice, that it was owned by Ford, and that about 4 years earlier, when the men tried to organize it, Ford closed it down completely rather than have it unionized. That is a large claim to find on the back of a photograph. This is what the record says about it. 14 years earlier, Ford sent a film crew to the same place. The Ford Motor Company made a promotional picture called The Ford Way of Mining Coal. It survives in the National Archives, and the titles are Ford's own words. Cleanliness and cheerfulness, it says, mark these Fordson mining towns from all others. It gives the numbers, too. 18 million tons of low volatile coal. 1,500 tons a day. $800 employees, which is worth holding on to because the caption in 1938 says about 1,000 men, and Ford's own figure is the better one. There's one more title card, and in 1924 it was meant as reassurance. When any of the Fordson mines are shut down, the men are given work at cleaning and repairing the houses and also building roads. By the end of 1933, the men at Twin Branch had joined the United Mine Workers of America. All of them. We know what happened next because the local union wrote it down and sent it to the newspaper in Bluefield, which printed it. The miners had organized 100% as United Mine Workers of America, it says, and after organizing, working conditions at the mines were made so intolerable and unbearable by the mine officials that in December 1933, the local union sent 2 representatives to Detroit to ask Henry Ford for an investigation of conditions that prevailed at the Twin Branch mines. 2 coal miners from a hollow in southern West Virginia got themselves to Detroit, Michigan to ask Henry Ford to look at how his own mine was being run. The representatives were told that their case would be investigated, and when they returned and reported for work, they were discharged. The men struck over it. The union's word for a strike here is a holiday in quotation marks. The 2 representatives got their jobs back. That was December. In January, the company answered. On the 16th day of January, 1934, the general superintendent of the Fordson Coal Company came to the mine committee with a position. That organized labor did not come before the Fordson Coal Company, that the company would not meet them in future as representatives of organized labor, but would deal with the miners as individuals only. And if they didn't like it, the mine foreman would make them like it. A strike was called by the local union until the intolerable conditions at the Twin Branch mines were remedied. They also asked that their union be recognized. 2 days later, the company closed down the mine, thereby turning the strike into a lockout. On the 25th of January, the Bluefield Daily Telegraph carried the announcement: Twin Branch mine of Fordson will close down for an indefinite period. With the exception of a watchman or 2, no one will be kept on the property, and none of the employees are being transferred to other operations of the company. The superintendent confirmed it to the paper. And then this sentence: Mr. Skeen said he had, in quotation marks, nothing to say about a reason for the action. The paper supplied the reason itself. According to reports reaching Welch, the action followed differences between the employees and the company and the declaring of a number of holidays by the local union. The same article says much of the equipment is being shipped away and that it is reported the mine will be boarded up and the store closed. It also gives a number that tells you the town was already in trouble. About 300 men had been employed there, working 2 to 4 days a week for a considerable period. 800 in Ford's film. 300 by the January the mine shut. Eight months later, the local union was still there. The company store's stock had been carted away. The union says the mine equipment had not been moved, which is not what the company told the paper in January. About 100 families were still living in the company houses. A number of them had been notified to vacate within 30 days or face eviction proceedings. And one line that does not read like a labor dispute at all. We were not allowed to plant gardens on company property. Twice since the closure, efforts had been made to get the miners to return to work non-union. Both times they refused. The local still had 253 members in good standing. We are determined, the letter says, that if the twin branch mines are operated, our union shall be recognized. And I am sure none of our members regrets the steps we took when we walked out on strike January 16th, 1934, but would do the same thing over if it was necessary to do so. It is signed, Chester C. Watson, Financial Secretary, Local Union Number 6030, United Mine Workers of America, Twin Branch, West Virginia. In June of 1936, the Telegraph reported that Ford had sold his coal holdings in this part of the state. The sale, it said, marks the withdrawal of Ford interests from the southern West Virginia fields. He had bought in 12 years earlier for a reported $10 million. 2 years after that, the photographer arrived. Boarded up homes in abandoned mining town. Planks nailed across the windows of houses that Ford's own film had said were kept freshly painted. The community building and the company store. The powerhouse. The tipple. And the church boarded up with the rest of it. Her caption says the company would not sell the houses, would not rent them, and would not let anyone live in them. One part of the town was not empty. This is the section her caption calls Marytown, where the black families had lived. So the caption on the back of the photograph was right, and it was also incomplete. Ford did close the town rather than operate it union. But the men were not simply shut out. They walked on the 16th of January after being told the company would deal with them as individuals only. Then they were asked twice to come back without the union, and twice they said no, with 100 families in company houses under eviction notice and no gardens allowed. The town in these photographs is not what was done to them. It is what they were willing to lose. Nobody in Washington filed a case. The Wagner Act was still 18 months away when the mine shut, so there was no federal board to hear it, and no hearing was ever held. The whole account survives because a financial secretary in a dead coal camp typed it out and asked a newspaper to print it, and the newspaper did. Twin Branch had 800 employees in Ford's film. 253 men were still paying dues to a local at a mine that no longer existed.